Heather, I love this story so much, this sweet, sweet story of the circle. And so I want to ask about your process. I want to ask about the materials and then the journey that this beautiful circle goes on. But do you want to talk about wordless books?
I've always loved wordless books. Yeah, like I didn't really grow up with like graphic novels or anything like that. I like words, but I'm dyslexic. And I think that also makes them dance a little in my head. So like comics and that kind of stuff appeal to me. Yes. But seeing a longer story without words, just a pure visual journey, always intrigued me. And I always wanted to sort of explore what that would be like kind of in my own work.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. I also have questions about the story and how it progressed. Did you see a fabric and then you go, that's the fabric? Did you have the idea that the circle would be a button?
It started out with a fabric.
Right.
The batik, all the different kinds of batik really intrigued me. I was doing a digital embroidery class. So I was sort of in sewing notion stores and looking at various materials. I had no idea that I was going to work with buttons. I just knew I wanted to work with a paper punch and the fabric in some way. So here's a mock-up. You can see how I've sewn the landscape to the sky and just take a paper punch and sort of move it along and kind of create this little stage set.
So when I was looking through the book, I was thinking about weather, ice storms, or heavy rain, danger.
I mean, they do reference kind of things we learn along the way, things we gather, or things that show up, and whether that's something that might be more dangerous, or something that might be sharp, or something that might be unknown or mysterious in some way. And then you don't really know until you're sort of moving through on the other side what you've actually what you're carrying with us.
It reminds me of ancient Chinese scrolls where there's one character who's dressed the same and moving throughout their day.
Absolutely. I didn't reference that kind of directly, but realized that, oh yeah, this has a very, very long history.
I love the contrast between these hard, sharp objects that seem to have so much character and the softer sewing notions. There's so much story there and so much visual information.
And also some nostalgia, because these are objects that I kind of grew up with in terms of these small sisters that were shaped like birds. And I told stories about these when I was younger. They really did evoke a narrative. And so to be able to include them kind of made sense. That's when the characters also started showing up and the sewn space.
The button, of course, it has a lot of character before it has eyes, but the eyes...
Yes, but they're just basically two pins.
Two pins.
Two pin heads.
And even here, the pins create a face.
Not even a face, but expression. And the fact that we can see expression just by the way you position two circles.
Yeah, there's a whole part of our brain that is dedicated just to recognizing faces.
As infants.
Yes, yeah. We need it for survival. You have to tell the difference between your boss and your mother. Like, it's important. And there's so much that a young person can process with sequencing and their own imagination and bringing their own story to it and then verbalizing themselves. And I'm just wondering why children's books, I almost wonder why any of them have words. Yeah. You know, one of my teachers at Rutgers, Joan Sumwell, she said, just the act of making art as a woman is a feminist act. Like that alone. And sewing and embroidery and all these women's crafts that were reestablished as high art by female artists in the 1970s. And all of that comes alive for me in this book too.
That makes me happy.
There's a real strength and resilience and also resourcefulness, this tiny circle.
Yeah.
These are amazing.
It's fun to show them to you.
So beautiful.
It makes me happy.
Me too.
Thank you, Alex.